Were you aware in the books the Battle of Rook's Rest is in Mushroom's version? Here Mushroom's version seems most likely, for we know that 9 days after Lord Staunton dispatched his plea for help, the sound of leathern wings was heard across the sea, and the dragon Meleese appeared above Rook's Rest. The Red Queen, she was called, for the scarlet scales that covered her. The membranes of her wings were pink, her crest, horns, and claws bright as copper, and on her back, in steel and copper armor that flashed in the sun, rode Rhaenys Targaryen, the queen who never was. Ser Criston Cole was not dismayed. Aegon's hand had expected this, counted on it. Drums beat out a command, and archers rushed forward, longbowmen and crossbowmen both, filling the air with arrows and quarrels. Scorpions were cranked upward to loose iron bolts of the sort that had once felled mare axes in Dorne. Meleese suffered a score of hits, but the arrows only served to make her angry. She swept down, spitting fire to right and left. Knights burned in their saddles as the hair and hide and harness of their horses went up in flames. Men-at-arms dropped their spears and scattered. Some tried to hide behind their shields, but neither oak nor iron could withstand Dragon's breath. Ser Criston sat on his white horse shouting, "Aim for the rider!" Through the smoke and flame, Meleese roared, smoke swirling from her nostrils, a stallion kicking in her jaws as tongues of fire engulfed him. Then came an answering roar. 2 more winged shapes appeared. The king astride Sunfire the Golden, and his brother Aemond upon Vhagar. Criston Cole had sprung his trap, and Rhaenys had come snatching at the bait. Now the teeth closed round her. Princess Rhaenys made no attempt to flee. With a glad cry and a crack of her whip, she turned Meleese toward the foe. Against Vhagar alone she might have had some chance, but against Vhagar and Sunfire together, doom was certain. The dragons met violently 1,000 feet above the field of battle, as balls of fire burst and blossomed, so bright that men swore later that the sky was full of suns. The crimson jaws of Meleese closed round Sunfire's golden neck for a moment, till Vhagar fell upon them from above. All 3 beasts went spinning toward the ground. They struck the ground so hard that stones fell from the battlements of Rook's Rest half a league away. Those closest to the dragons did not live to tell the tale. Those farther off could not see for the flame and smoke. It was hours before the fires guttered out. But from those ashes, only Vhagar rose unharmed. Meleese was dead, broken by the fall and ripped to pieces upon the ground. And Sunfire, that splendid golden beast, had 1 wing half torn from his body, whilst his royal rider had suffered broken ribs, a broken hip, and burns that covered half his body. His left arm was the worst. The dragon flame had burned so hot that the king's armor had melted into his flesh. A body believed to be Rhaenys Targaryen was later found beside the carcass of her dragon, but it was so blackened that no one could be sure it was her. Beloved daughter of Lady Jocelyn Baratheon and Prince Aemon Targaryen, faithful wife to Lord Corlys Velaryon, mother and grandmother, the queen who never was lived fearlessly and died amidst blood and fire. She was 55 years old. 800 knights and squires and common men lost their lives that day as well. Another 100 perished not long after, when Prince Aemond and Ser Criston Cole took Rook's Rest and put its garrison to death. Lord Staunton's head was carried back to King's Landing and mounted above the old gate. But it was the head of the dragon Meleese, drawn through the city on a cart, that awed the crowds of small folk into silence. Septon Eustace tells us that thousands left King's Landing afterward, until the Dowager Queen Alicent ordered the city gates closed and barred. King Aegon II did not die, though his burns brought him such pain that some say he prayed for death. Carried back to King's Landing in a closed litter to hide the extent of his injuries, His Grace did not rise from his bed for the rest of the year. Septons prayed for him, maesters attended him with potions and milk of the poppy, but Aegon slept 9 hours out of every 10, waking only long enough to take some meager nourishment before he slept again. None was allowed to disturb his rest, save his mother, the Queen Dowager, and his hand, Ser Criston Cole. His wife never so much as made the attempt, so lost was Helena in her own grief and madness. Subscribe for more.